Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining me on the channel today. My name is Doug. If you are new here, been a busy summer. It's actually been a while since I made a video. Been kind of hectic. I haven't had too much time to put anything together too ambitious, but I thought I'd do at least one outdoor video while the summer is in full swing. The hydrangeas are in bloom. What's been going on? We went away for our annual vacation to Vancouver Island. I'll maybe drop a few clips after this. Had a good time there. Came back. Unfortunately, my dad went back in the hospital. He's been there for almost 2 weeks now. I think he'll probably be getting out sooner rather than later. And we also made the questionable decision to add 2 puppies to the family, 2 sisters named Minnie and Coco. From the same litter, they are 7-month-old Bernedoodles. Our older dog, Mission, who's 6, is not quite impressed with them as yet. So some early mornings, definitely some puppy craziness going on as we kind of get used to each other. Hopefully you're not blinded by the glare there. But got some records to show that have arrived in the collection recently after a bit of a lull following Record Store Day. There's some good stuff starting to come out again, some crucial reissues of very rare albums, very difficult to obtain. Thought I would group some of the dub ones together for this video, and timely as reggae historian David Katz, author of People Funny Boy, the Lee Perry biography, and Solid Foundation, has just released Dub Revolution, a history of the dub form of reggae music. I happen to get a signed copy right here, personally signed by David Katz. Just getting started on it right now. Reads kind of like a documentary on dub, but in written format, of course. Going to be quite a immersive journey through this one. Groucho Smykel there, few photos in the mix. Dub Revolution, brand new book from reggae authority David Katz. Doggies. Coming straight out of the gate with 2 long out of print, highly sought after dub albums, finally seeing a re-release in 2026, and both focusing on material recorded for the UK-based Negus Roots label. Not sure if it's Negus or Negus. In my early days in reggae, I always had the impression it was a Jamaican label. The music was recorded in Jamaica, but the label actually based in the UK, run by brothers Robert Flacco Palmer and his brother Michael Palmer. The first one is a dub album that originally came out in the UK in 1982, Dub Rocker's Delight, featuring music by Sly and Robbie, Lloyd Parks, many others. Negus Roots production. Brand new reissue out of the UK through Gussie P. This is the full-length dub version of singer Laxley Castell's 1982 debut album, Morning Glory. Castell, something of a cult reggae artist. There was already a buzz about him when I was kind of first getting deep into reggae in the late 1990s, early 2000s. Those albums were out of print, already very expensive, collectors seeking those out. He recorded one further album for the Negus Roots label, 1983's Princess Lady, but sadly passed away later that year at the very young age of 24, following some kind of ailment, I believe. So Dub Rocker's Delight, various mixing engineers on the boards here, but full-length dub versions of all the tracks to Laxley Castell's Morning Glory album, plus the final track, Ja in Dub, a non-album track, and Laxley's Government Man, one of the very first used reggae records I ever bought, on the 12-inch single, not on Negus Roots itself, but some kind of obscure Canadian label. And that one came with a bonus 7-inch single from the Negus Roots label, Sister Pam, Teardrops Keep Following. I never know what to do with these bonus singles. Keep it with the LP it came with, or file them with the rest of the 7-inch singles. That probably makes more sense for storage safekeeping. Second one is a dub album that originally came out in 2007, but the material was recorded in the early 1980s for the Negus Roots label, featuring singers like Neville Brown, Don Carlos, Laxley Castell again, Junior Reid's group Voice of Progress, and others. Various Negus Roots tracks dubbed up in the UK, had the master tapes turned over to UK mixing engineer Gussie P. Gussie Prento in the early 2000s, who released it as Sip a Cup, his own label, meets Negus Roots, dub album of hard-hitting early 1980s productions, but actually mixed earlier in the 2000s. Firehouse Dub, very stark, very uncompromising, some sleek synthesizer lines in here, but otherwise some hard-hitting drum and bass sound system style to trouble your speakers, and perfect music for the hot weather we've been having lately. There's one further Negus Roots based dub set that hasn't yet seen a reissue. I found this CD in a thrift store many years ago. This one was actually mixed by Mad Professor in the UK. Mad Professor with the Negus Roots players in a rub-a-dub style, and those are actually the dub versions to Laxley Castell's second album and final album, Princess Lady. Jamaican singer Morris K.C. White had always been a little special to me, a little intriguing since my early days getting into reggae music, seen here on the Try a Little Happiness LP, unfortunately the only one I have by him, original pressing on the Puff label. I was lucky to come across in a local record store, the much missed Freewheelin' Records, some years back. He had had some early hits, kind of the early part of the 1970s in Jamaica, with the cover of The First Cut is the Deepest, and maybe his signature song, Anywhere But Nowhere. And a couple of those songs, including this one, were DJ'd over by Big Youth on his classic Screaming Target LP, with the track Solomon Grundy, which I loved from the first time I heard it, featuring that key line from KC White, I can go anywhere but still be nowhere, floating kind of plaintively in the mix as Big Youth DJs and freestyles over it. KC White then spent some time in the US, kind of traveled around. In the late 1970s, he compiled a dub album of some of the tracks he had recorded, including Anywhere But Nowhere, The First Cut Is the Deepest, and his cover of Don Penn's No, 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 kind of recorded at various points in the 70s. The earlier ones done at Randy's studio, and the more recent ones from the later part of the 70s done at Channel One. He attempted to shop that dub LP around uh, to record labels in London. Couldn't reach a satisfactory deal. He was kind of wary about getting into dubious legal entanglements with unscrupulous record labels. And then the album was shelved and kind of forgotten until 1995, when he reached a deal with the Dutch label Zola and Zola, who gave it a title and cover art. It appeared in 1995, vinyl only, I believe, as Universal Dub. Kind of cool cover art with the astronaut blasting off from Earth on a giant spliff rocket, perhaps homaging some of the sci-fi themed dub albums of the early 1980s, but 1970s dubs, but belatedly released in 1995 and reissued now again out of the Netherlands by the mysterious Solid Roots label. Seem to surface with these very intriguing reissues every once in a while. Another dub album that has resurfaced again recently, long out of print, dubs of Morris K.C. White recordings from the 1970s. From UK-based artist and producer Winston Curtis. Don't know a great deal about him, but in 1983 he compiled a dub album credited to Selassie I Rockers, not really a band, but the album was called 30 Pieces of Dub. Various mixing engineers on the boards again, various tracks, including dubs to Gregory Isaacs' Storm, Leroy Brown's Color Barrier, as well as ones by Freddie Clark, um, Bob Skeng. There's a Vin Gordon instrumental on here, I believe, and long out of print. There was a CD reissue that came out later on, maybe the 1990s, but brand new for 2026 on the Jaw Lion label, back in print again. Grab it while it's hot. Very obscure dub album from producer Winston Curtis. Selassie I Rockers, 30 Pieces of Dub. Another quite obscure UK dub album has also just resurfaced. This one from a little bit later in the timeline, 1993, released in very limited quantities in the UK. Dub Harder Than Steel, credited only to Earthquake Studio, aka the duo of Winston Dread and TNT Roots, reissued brand new for 2026 from the Real Rock Records label out of Italy. Real Rock put out some of the best, in my opinion, RSD reissues this year. Dub Harder Than Steel shows the evolution of dub in the UK, utilizing advancing technology in the 1990s to add some programmed beats and synthesizers alongside very stark, very sound system ready drum and bass kind of steppers tracks. Dub Harder Than Steel, a little bit outside perhaps my usual dub listening, but the Real Rock label has been piquing my interest with some of their releases, so I thought I'd grab this one, kind of a window into the evolving UK dub scene, which went in quite a different direction from Jamaican reggae through the 1980s with the foundation work of producers and sound system men like Josh Shaka, and the tradition then picked up by the Disciples, Alpha and Omega, and Earthquake Studio, among many others, to move the music in a very unique direction in the UK. Another one from the Real Rock Records label out of Italy. You ever just kind of follow a certain label that just seems to put out some really interesting stuff? Real Rock Records has been hitting that sweet spot for me, getting me to pick up things they put out, even maybe that I wouldn't necessarily go for. But the most recent one they've put out, kind of a no brainer. They have just reissued, I believe, for the first time ever on vinyl, Yuh Learn, originally released in the UK in 1978 by UK reggae renaissance man Dennis Bovell, sound system operator with his own Sufferer sound, leader of successful British reggae band Matumbi, who were signed to major label EMI, I believe, producer, dub engineer, one of the co-founders of the entire lovers rock subgenre of reggae. In the late 1970s, he put out 4 dub or semi-dub LPs. There are a couple of vocals on this album under the pseudonym of the Fourth Street Orchestra. Basically, it was Matumbi with Ja Bunny here on drums, John Capie on keyboards and guitar, pretty much everything else done except horns done by Dennis Bovell himself. I think this was the only one that had kind of a proper cover art and had a more expansive sound due to more tracking available to him. This was the fourth and final Fourth Street Orchestra album. The others have been reissued on CD and Music on Vinyl, I believe, put the first 2 out not too long ago. I haven't picked those up yet, but I do have them on CD. They are Ahuse, Gode, and Lego Afuidis. These are 2-for-1 CDs from EMI, and then the second set is Rama Scientific Higher Ranking Dub. I think the only one waiting to be reissued on vinyl, probably just a matter of time at this point, and then Yuh Learn itself. This album features first track The Grunswick Affair, recorded in solidarity with a labor dispute at the Grunswick Laboratory in the UK, as I understand it, along with sound system favorite Rowing Down the River, quite bluesy. That one has vocals in it, as Don't Boost Them Up does as well. Frontline, but basically hard-hitting dub aimed squarely at the UK sound system, the underground scene, rather than any sort of crossover appeal. Probably hence the reason for the Fourth Street Orchestra pseudonym, to kind of hide who is actually behind the recordings, given that there was a bit of discrimination among UK reggae buyers who favored the Jamaican recorded reggae instead of the often very credible British variant. So that has been some recent dub reissues that are out right now as of summer 2026 that you might want to familiarize yourself with, check into if you haven't so far. I have a few other things either already here or on the way that I'll maybe save for a future video. Thought I would, for convenience sake, group the dub ones here together. Don't know if anybody's interested in other genres of music, but just quickly, I'll show a few other things that I received recently that I've been listening to. Summer, when the weather is nice, as well as reggae, I want to listen to Brazilian music. That just hits the absolute spot. And I grabbed from Sounds of the Universe in the UK, Big Ben by George Ben, from 1965, if I'm not mistaken, reissue of his debut album on the DOL label. Very nicely done gatefold package here. Uh, Heavyweight vinyl LP, sounds absolutely magnificent, and includes the classics, of course, Mashkinada, Chove Chuva, often covered by other artists, Big Ben, the debut album by an artist I need much more of on vinyl. Also got Gilberto Gil, self-titled Tropicalia album. This one's Phillips reissue. Don't know how legit some of these reissues are, but they all sound wonderful. Green vinyl on this one. Only thing I can say about this one is the cover printing looks a little murky, but we don't play the cover. And then two by the singer Joyce Marino, one from early in the 1970s with Nelson Angelo, I believe, she was involved with at that time. Him doing most of the songwriting and arrangements, I believe, taking most of the lead vocals. That one's Life Goes On Records reissue. Beautiful kind of MPB. And then several years later, 1980, she put out the acclaimed solo album Feminina. Very clear, very pure voice. That one is a Klimt reissue. All these reissues sound just beautiful as the sun shines and beats through the windows. Just loving these Brazilian reissues, always looking to add more to my collection during the summer particularly. So that's going to do it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care and keep tuned for the next video.